I've redone that particular front, and I've done something that I've used a lot of the bits that I used before, but I've done something that's a little bit different, and maybe a tad more masculine, because we've used Beautiful Lady Vagabond on that front one. I've lost 2 of my inserts, so I don't know where they are. I'm really sorry. So I'm going to have to show you this without my first 2 inserts. Well, first and third. So my lady, she's knocking about somewhere. I'll find her at some point, but that was the one that we did last week, and we're going to do the one that goes in here next week, which is the one with the acetate front. Yeah, I thought that, Belinda. You're much bigger, so I'm not at all surprised. So what I've done is I've done a different front on this one, and I've made it just a little bit more masculine, because this particular insert is very much about Sir Vagabond, whereas, let's be honest, the others are all lady, because, you know, she's lovely. Right, so this is what we're going to be making tonight. So this is what I've done now. I've put like a bar on the bottom with this curled out adventure bit here. I've taken 3 of these, I don't know, what do you call them, like mascot things. We've still got those bits from, I think they're from Lady Vagabond, aren't they, down the back, to look like a closure. But when we open this book out, what we've got here is Sir Vagabond on the top, but then we open it up like this, and we've got like a little file folder type thingy, and then we've got a space for photo mats, and I've just put some of the cutter parts in here. I haven't really done anything very much with them. There's this beautiful, beautiful book, which we all know the story to now, of course. I'd love to make a proper book with that. I'll have to get round to it, because it's just made for that. But you knew that when you designed it, didn't you, Belinda? That everybody was going to want to make a book out of that bit. And then just a photo mat. So what we'll do tonight is we will make up this particular insert and get him decorated. Now, these inserts, you don't have to kind of just use them for this project, because it occurred to me when I was making them that actually these are really quick and easy makes that you could use as giveaways, or you could use it, I don't know, maybe as a card for somebody, and then they could open it up and you could put, I don't know, certificates in there, photographs, a gift card, maybe something like that. So don't just think of these inserts in terms of this particular project. I think they'll lend themselves to pretty much anywhere. I will take some photos of this in the light and put them on the group as well, so that you can see you know, this version too. Right, okay, so let's get started. I did print myself out a cutting guide, and I managed to print all of the cutting guide, not just the one that I wanted. So right, let's get started. So grab your trimmer. Oh, I've still got this big bag full of straws here, in case anybody's wondering. I did have a couple today, but didn't get all that far with them. Okay, right.
2.99 kilos.
Yeah, it probably is about that bit. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to get your base cardstock, God knows where mine is. I dread to think where I put it. This will do. And I need to cut one at 9.5 by 8.25 inches. Evening, Libby. So, evening, Trish. So, just bear in mind that if you're cutting 8.25 inches and you're using UK size A4, that's already, there's a cat under my legs. I'm not sure which one, but it was furry. Anyway, so 8.25 inches is already your width. So I'm just going to cut this at 9.5. Okay. Then I'm going to cut one at 9.5 by 7.5. So 9.5 by 7.5 inches. Now we're going to do those flaps that go underneath, and we're going to cut two at 9.5 by 5 5/8. I know, I'm sorry. If you're not sure how much 5/8 is, let me show you. Right. So it's going to be 5 5/8. So here's my ruler. 5 1/2 is 5 4/8. Okay, because 4/8 is a half, which means I need one more eighth to make it 5 5/8. So I don't know if you can see my ruler here. It's divided up into quarters, eighths, and sixteenths. So I want to look at the eighths. So I've got 4/8 here, which is the half, and then I want the next eighth mark, which is there. So that's where I'm going to cut at 5 5/8 of an inch. Okay. And it's all because of gussets.
I think there's a mistake on the scoring.
Why?
5 5/8.
Oh yeah, it should be 1/8 of an inch. But no.
3/8.
No.
3/8.
No, half an inch and 5/8 of an inch. Not 5 5/8 of an inch.
Okay. You got an extra 5.
I did. Well, it wouldn't be a good cutting guide if I did it right, would it? Right, so 8 1/2 by 9 1/2 by 5 5/8. Take my glasses off. And I want 2 of those. You're confused.
Yeah, too hot.
It is too hot. It's absolutely horrible. I bet it's hot in Berlin. Actually, that was one thing I always really liked about living in Germany was that the seasons were seasonal. So you had really hot summer and a really cold winter. Okay, right. So the last bit that we're going to cut is 2 at 6 3/4 by 4 5/8. So let me cut that at 6 3/4. And 4 5/8. Okay, so you can put your trimmer away for a bit. Right. Scoreboard. Goodness knows where my scoring tool is. Oh, not as far away as I thought. All right, so I've got this first bit, which is 9 1/2 by 8 1/4. It should be 8 1/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. So we're going to score on the 8 1/4 inch side, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch, and we're going to score at 3/4 of an inch. So we've got a 1/4 inch gusset. This next big piece, we're not scoring at all, so we can put that to one side. Okay. Right, the next one, we've got the 2 longer pieces, which are 9 1/2 inches. You what, sorry?
It's all right, I'm having major problems with the computer.
Oh. And we're going to score on the 7, I can't see, 5 3/4 inch side. No, 5 and, oh, shall I just start again? It's too hot. Right, we're going to score on the side that is 5 5/8 of an inch. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch. And then we're going to make a really small gusset of 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to be scoring at 5/8 of an inch. So what I've got there is a really narrow gusset. Can you see? That's really quite small. Okay. And we're going to do the same on both of them. So we're going to score on the 5 5/8 of an inch side at 1/2 inch and at 5/8 of an inch. And we're going to do the same on the shorter pieces as well, except we're going to be scoring on the 4 5/8 of an inch side. So that's the bit that goes at the top. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch. And we're going to score at 5/8 of an inch. So I've got exactly the same gusset there. Okay. And I'm going to do that on both. So I'm scoring at 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch. So I get that gusset there. Now, Before I start sticking this together, I'm going to round my corners. Well, I would do if I could find my corner rounder. Here it is. So on those 4 that we've just scored with the little thin gusset, I'm going to round them all. Okay. So I'm rounding the 2 corners that are furthest away from the score marks. And I'm going to do that on all 4 pieces. So I've got my score marks down here and I've got my rounded corner there. You don't have to do this. I just think it finishes it off quite nicely. Okay, right. Oh, got an itchy nose. I kissed Max earlier and ended up with a mouthful of cat fur and it's gone up my nose. Right, okay, so this is the base bit of the book, the insert. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold on these score lines here. So we've got our 1/4 inch gusset, but I'm just going to fold on there like that so that I get that C shape there, okay? And I'll just burnish it just to make sure that it's good and sharp creased. Like that. And this piece that doesn't have any scoring on it, we're going to glue that like that. So it's going to open. This is exactly the same as we did last week, by the way. So it's going to open like that. So I'm going to put some glue on the inside of that flap there. Oh, I need some new glue. I don't know how much glue I get through. Quite a bit. Okay, and I'm going to line this up and I'm going to pop it just before that score line, where that score line starts. So I've got my back and then the gusset and then the front. Okay. So when I fold this up, I've got my little book like that. Okay. So it'll just open like that. Okay. Right. Now we need to put these bits in, okay, that form this little holder for any bits and pieces that we choose to put in it, okay? So this is the way it's going to open, and I'm going to put my bits on here. So I'm going to start with the long ones because I find that easier. So I'm just going to fold on those score lines that we did earlier and make sure that I've got my 1/8 of an inch gusset. Okay. So let's just fold and burnish. So I've got my little flap there that once again has got this little gusset just there. And I'm going to glue this onto my book. So I'm going to put some glue down that flap there. Okay. Now here is where I've got my middle gusset of the book. And I'm going to pop this on directly under where that gusset is. Make sure it lines up. So what I've got now is I'm going to open my book and I've got this flap here that opens up like that with that little gusset on there. And now I'm going to attach the other one down the bottom of the insert. So I'm going to just fold on those score lines. Let's just burnish. Get a good crease. Okay, so you can see here, I've got this flap, which I'm going to attach to my insert, and then I've got that little tiny gusset. So I'm just going to pop some glue onto the back of that flap like that. And I'm going to attach this to the opposite side to this one, okay? So this is going on the bottom of that insert, just there. Like that. Okay? So they fit together like that. Now, to stop anything coming out the sides, we need sides, which is what these are. So, once again, I'm folding on those score lines. I'm going to burnish so that I get that little gusset there on my flap, and I'm going to do the same on the other side as well. So those are those two side pieces, both with their little tiny gussets, okay? So open up my book, open up those, and these are going to fit at either side. They will not join in the middle. They're just going to fit either side there. So put some glue on. And because these aren't as wide as this whole area here, you're going to have to centre it. So I'm just going to eyeball it, find the centre, and glue that down. And then the same on this final one. There's actually quite a lot left in here, but I think because it's so hot, it's got a bit thicker. Right, so let's get these lined up. And we're popping this one over the other side and lining it up top to bottom. Okay, so that is the structure of this insert, like that. So what we've got to do now is decorate it up. So I'm going to decorate it exactly the same way as I have here. I'm not going to be putting anything on the back. That's going to be what we do next week. But I'm going to put the base page on the front here. And I'm going to show you how I've decorated this. And then inside we'll have a look, because we've got lovely lady Vagabond. And the supervisor, of course. So we'll start putting that together as well, okay? Because we're getting to the end of our big sheets of paper now.
Tracy's following in the nude.
Pardon?
Too hot.
You what?
Tracy's following in the nude. Too hot.
Well, I would, but I think you might notice. Right, okay, so we're going to start off with that front piece. So the paper that I used for that was definitely out of Sir Vagabond. I'm just going to put that to one side because I'm obviously going to need that in a bit. And it's the back of this winged piece. I mean, if you you want to get really arty, there's nothing stopping you using that on the front. It's entirely up to you. There's quite a lot of leeway here with design and stuff. But I'm going to do the same as I've done here. So I'm going to cut out a piece to go on the front there, and that is 9.5 by 7.5, I think, is it? Where's my ruler? It's 9.5 by 7.5. So when I cut out, I always cut 1/8 of an inch less than the size. So I'm just going to trim these edges off. And I'm going to cut that at 9.5 inches, or just under 9 3/8 actually, if I'm being truthful. And now I'm going to cut that at 7 3/8. So in theory, that will fit on the front of my page like that. So I'm going to glue that on. Okay, so let's just pop that on the front cover. Now, there is a sheet of cutter party bits in Sir Vagabond that's on a white background. And you can pretty much use any of those wherever you like, because I didn't use them a lot in the original. And I don't know why, because they're rather nice. But from that sheet, I've used these 3 pieces, and what I've done is the vintage travel I've stuck directly to the background. I have put it onto some black card just to make it pop a bit, and then I've put these cogs from the same sheet up onto a little piece of chipboard so that they've got a bit of you know, they stand out a bit. We've got these 2 bits which I've also mounted onto the black card and fussy cut around, and they're from Lady Vagabond, and you will have 2 because obviously we've used 2 packs of this if you've used the kit. And then I've cut out these 2 bits, added those onto some chipboard to raise those higher than this flat bit, just to give it a bit of sort of dimension. Then on the bottom here, I've used that, it's the time journal or travel journal bit here, which I've also added onto black card and hired up on some chipboard. Then this adventure piece, I've cut round it, I've put that onto black card, and I've shaped it. So I've literally just used my fingers to shape that that piece. And if you can see here that it's, you know, it is shaped, and then added that onto there, so that when that's in our briefcase, you get quite a lot of dimension to it. So that's how I've done the front, but obviously decorate in whichever way you like. Now, to go on to the inside, what we need to do first of all is this strip down here. So we've got our Sir Vagabond papers, and we know that this is 9.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to do first, is I'm going to cut that sheet, this one, at 9 and it's 9.5, isn't it? Is it 9.5? So 9 3/8. 9.5, isn't it? Just check. Yeah, 9.5. So I'm going to cut it at 9 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Right. So now I need to be careful about how I'm cutting these strips. So I'm going to cut this one first. So we know that that is 7.5 inches. So I'm going to cut this top hat end up, I'm going to see if I can just move this up a bit so you can see it better. Let me get rid of some of these books and things, books everywhere. This is why I lose bits of books. Right, see if that's any better. Okay, so I'm going to start off by cutting at 7 3/8 of an inch. Okay, let's just double check. Yeah, so I'm going to cut at 7 3/8 of an inch. Right, so when I open this up, that is going to fit on there like that. So I'm going to stick that on now.
That was 9 threads by 7 threads.
Yeah. I wouldn't normally give out measurements for decorating, but this is one where it has to be fairly precise. Okay, so let's pop that there. Like that. Now the next piece we have to cut really narrow because it's inside that gusset. Now that gusset is 1/4 of an inch, but if we cut this next piece at 1/4 of an inch, it's going to be far too wide and our book won't close. So I'm going to get my other trimmer. Oh God, where is it? My little trimmer. Hang on.
Is it definitely thin?
Well, I haven't taken it downstairs yet. It's got to be around somewhere. I don't know how these things just disappear the way they do.
I'm sure there.
Where? Oh yeah, safe so I don't lose it. Right, this little trimmer. Because I can be rather more precise on this than I can on the big one for little numbers. But as we know, if I do 1/4 of an inch, it's going to be too wide. So I need to cut this at just under. So I've got my 1/4 of an inch measurement there, and I'm going to cut that just underneath like that. So I've got quite a thin strip. I need a new blade in this, but never mind. Okay, I'm just going to trim this because my lovely trimmer has left tufts. Actually, I've got some new blades downstairs.
Yeah, you've got one downstairs, haven't you?
Yeah, but I've got another however many. I just need to remember to bring them up. Let me just trim that down, get rid of these tufts. Of course, if you're going over this and inking your edges, it won't matter so much if you've got a blunt blade because you hide it. Okay, so this is going to go, let's make sure I get it the right way up. there in that gusset. Okay, so let me just get some glue. I'm just going to pop that inside that gusset, lining it up with the piece above. Okay.
Simon says you're going to need to tie a ribbon on it like with the scissors.
Well, it won't make the slightest bit of difference. I'll still manage to lose it. I mean, really, how can you lose a trimmer? They're not exactly small. Right, so now I've got my piece to go here. So I'm going to glue that on top of this flap. So we've got the book opens up like that, and the flap will this flap that joins on from there is going to fit over the top of that one, and that's where we're going to put our page. I'll just trim him. He's still got tufts of fluff everywhere. Okay, right.
Is he the right size then?
Yeah.
Cute.
Well, I can't do much with him because that's all I've got left for that one. So that's why we have to stick an extra bit over the top. But we'll probably do that next week. Right, so now I'm going to glue this onto there. Like that. So I've got my Sir Vagabond who sits all the way down there. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about these other bits that we've got to do just yet, because what I want to do is the inside, because that's another one where we have to be careful how we're cutting. So here we've got our Lady Vagabond, and let's hope to goodness that we haven't used that piece. There we go. So we've got that sheet left, and that is going to fit in here. Now I've been awkward in the way that I've cut it because I didn't want to miss out on the supervisor. So I've kind of cut it over to one side a bit so that I get them both in, but the width is going to be the same. So let's see how we do that. Right, let's put that away a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut to the side of the supervisor. I'm going to cut about 1/2 inch or so off, okay? And then I'm going to cut this piece at a 9.5 inch width, but actually I'm going to do it just under, so it's going to be 9 3/8 of an inch, okay? Like that. So you've got a choice with this. You can either start with the supervisor down here and do it that way around, or you could start at the top and do it that way around. It doesn't matter. Either way will work just fine. But I'm going to do it the same way as I did it before, which is that way. So what I need to know is I'm going to cut from the bottom, and the width of that is 5 inches. So I'm going to cut this off here at 4 7/8 of an inch. Okay, like that. So I've got the supervisor and Lady Vagabond's legs. Now I'm just going to curve these. I'm just going to round those corners like that. And I'm going to glue. I should just put my trimmer away because I don't need that for a minute. But keep all of these strips because they come in useful at the end. So I'm going to put this first bit there like that. Okay, up to where that gusset starts. Now we're not going to start trying to put a bit of pattern paper into that gusset because it's only 1/8 of an inch and it's far, far, far too small. So let's put some glue onto that. And I'm going to pop that onto there like that. Okay. Now our Lady Vagabond will go on there like that. Let's just make sure she fits. She does. So let's pop her on there. And she goes on like that. So line her up there. Okay, so those are the bits that we needed to do. Those were the most important bits in terms of getting our papers right. So what I want to do now is have a look at these bits that we haven't covered. Now, we'll do the back next week, last of all. But we need to look for a piece that's going to fit down here because we've still got this big gap of black card down there. So let's see what we've got left. Lots of Lady Vagabond. So I'm going to want the back of that piece, the back of the houses piece. That was the piece I meant about where the sort of like the mascot badges are for cutting out for the front. I think I'm missing some paper. I've got all of these stripy bits. So I'll have that. These will need fussy cutting. I've started and not finished. I've lost some paper, definitely and utterly. Right, hold on, just let me get this sorted out. Oh, I've dropped some on the floor, which hasn't really helped. Right. So let's figure out where the centre of that is and put that on there. So I'm going to want that in the middle. What was that? 9.5. Half of 9.5. 4 3/4.
Yep.
It was a good guess, wasn't it?
Maybe Spencer's just new.
Oh, do you know, I wish I'd known when I started this how much maths is involved in mini book making. 12 minus 9.5. 2.5.
Yeah.
Half of 2.5 is what? An inch and a quarter. So let me just measure here, an inch and a quarter there, and an inch and a quarter there. And if I take those off, they should be almost right. Yeah. Right, let's just take those edges off. Nine and a half. Right. Around the edge. That should fit. Yes, it does. Right.
Good maths.
Team effort, dear. Okay, right, so let's pop that one on there. Right, so what have I got left of that one? That one, that's in one piece, isn't it? Okay, so obviously looking at this, what I've done is I've cut these two pieces and stuck those on. So let's do that. So I'm going to want to cut this. Just under 9.5. Right. They were 5 inches, weren't they? These flappy bits. 5 inches. Yep. So let's cut that at just under 5, so 4 7/8. And let's cut that one at 4 7/8. Right, now you know where we're getting all of our stripes from for the backs. Okay.
What size was that again? 9 3/8 by 4 7/8.
9 3/8.
Yeah, by 4 7/8.
By 4 7/8. So this is going to go on here, and I'm going to want to just round those corners, and I'm going to glue that on there. Oh, I do like those houses.
She says pinky one.
I know. So let's pop that on there. And this one is going to fit up here. So that's going to need the top corners rounding. So let's pop that on there. There we go. Okay, so we're getting there. So that's that bit done. You open it up. And now we've just got these flaps to do. So what did I use? Let's have a look. Some more of those. So that piece. I've paper pieced this as well because obviously I've run out. And then some of those bits left over from the cover. So
Mel says you're so quick, she's fat.
well, I've done it before, haven't I?
So
I've lost half of my paper. I'm sure I'm missing bits. Yeah, they'll turn up. And then there's the bits that I've just had in my hand that I've now lost. I had a bag in my hand full of bits of paper. Tell me this doesn't just happen to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I can absolutely guarantee it. Right. So that piece. I'm loath to use that piece now because I think it's got to go somewhere. Right. Okay, so we're going to cut this at, let's have a look. Six and 3/4 by 4.
Is that the exact size you're cutting?
No, I'm cutting it slightly under. So I'm cutting it at 6 and 5/8 by 3 and 7/8. It doesn't really matter where you put these. So let's pop that on there. I'm going to pop that on inside.
glassy and next.
Oh, God.
He's about 10 if you like.
Oh, yeah. What's he doing? Oh, it's his tail.
Yes.
I'm going to see what it was. It looked like a ruffle. I haven't got my glasses on. Right, okay, let's pop that on there. Right, so that's that side done. Now, we're going to need a strip for across the top here because that needs a bit extra. So let's find something nice we can use for a strip. That would spring to mind as a good strip piece. So I'm going to cut that at 1 inch-ish. And then okay, and this piece is going to go up the top there like that. I'm just going to turn this upside down so I can see what I'm doing. Just make sure that's the same width. Yep. Pop that on there underneath that score there. Right, I'm going to leave this until next week when we're doing our finishing off because I don't want to use the wrong bit of paper. So we're nearly there. So I've got the front, which we're going to decorate up. The stripy bit on the back probably we're going to make up next week. So you open it up and you've got your Sir Vagabond picture all the way down here. Open that up and that opens up onto that gorgeous picture of Lady Vagabond and the supervisor. Okay, so I have put a suggestion for photo mats sizes on the cutting guide, which are only very basic. I've lost my slide. Which are only very basic ones because I've just put a load of cutter parts in here and then just an ordinary photo mat. It's just a 6x4. I've used in the Lady Vagabond papers on the back of a lot of my photo mats. I've used those gorgeous book pages. These ones. So I've cut those down to be 6x4 photo mat size. So that's where I've got a lot of the back of my photo mats from for those. So you might like to make all of those into photo mats if you wanted to put in your folders. Right, that will do for now. I'll take a photograph of this and put it up, but I like the way that it sits in the briefcase, to be honest. But like I said, you can always use the other side of it with the wings. That's entirely up to you. It'll just mean that you're having to do some of the pieces inside different because the wings was on the back of that one, I think. Right. There we go. I've only got one more lesson left on this. It's a bit sad, really. It's going to be a bit weird not doing this anymore. We should have a wrap party, shouldn't we? Do you think? Cool. Right then, guys. No more Thursday classes because we've finished Wendy's book.
We have.
And I've got WI tomorrow night. So sorry, no class. Friday is gatefold in Crafting Together.
Wendy says Vagabond 2.
Vagabond 2. Well, that is up to Belinda. Having said that, I do have quite a few sets of Lady Vagabond left that I didn't use. and I have some gorgeous boxes. And I am very, very tempted to do something else with Lady Vagabond. And it's not often you're going to see that I will use a paper line more than once. There have been very few paper lines that I've used more than once, because I love them. And I find it hard once I've done one project to do a second one. But I have an idea. So we'll see. It's not going to be any time soon, because I've got a few things to do, but that is certainly an option for the future. So yeah, I'm not finished with Lady Vagabond, I'm afraid. She's too good to leave. So see you back here next Wednesday for part 10. Wow, of this class. And if you get stuck or you need anything, just shout up and we'll see you all next week. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Ooh.